What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean78904 if you want to get all technical on me. Joined today with the Chief, Will. We got a seven-game slate for baseball. Weird as far as the time slots as well, just kind of the way one game at 7:10, and that game is going to start at precisely 7:10. That's Detroit taking on the Mets, and it's kind of a backloaded slate. And my apologies. Hold on 1 second. I have a slight little technical snafu. All right, we're good to go. My apologies here, Will. With our new intro, it's not worth getting into technicalities of it, but I will figure it out on the fly, like nothing's happened there. But yeah, Will, this is a tough slate. It feels like end of the season slate because some of these pitchers are pretty horrific. This is what happens, right? When the ones, the twos, the threes, and the fours all go, this is what we're left with, the scraps that are the number fives. And I was talking to you about a pre-show. I was like, man, this is a tough show to give analysis on. I was reading, Cheeseisgood, Dave Potts is the $1 Million Musings pre-show. And, he's going to be on later. And, he's being fully honest. And maybe his opinions have changed. But this is a really, really tough slate to say, this is my pitcher. This is my guy. Good is relative. Is relative on this slate when it comes to the pitchers. Because the ones that project the best pitchers in this slate, Sean Manaea, Tanner Houck, Tristan McKenzie, who hasn't been good in over a year coming off injury. James Paxton, another guy who's rarely healthy, was once good. It's rough. Reese Olson, Joe Boyle is a person who'll be throwing baseballs today. We have a knuckleballer giving it a go tonight, Matt Waldron. As Dave put it, as Cheese put it in his article, he's got the heebie-jeebies or the Jim Jams, which apparently is a synonym for heebie-jeebies, which I was unaware. I learned that every single day you learn something, not just baseball-wise, but just life-wise in the musings as well. He could have went with Wim Whams or Screaming Mimes also. I Googled more. I was like, I'm curious what other synonyms there are for heebie-jeebies. To be clear, by the way, if you guys are tuning in for basketball, there will be basketball conversation, basketball talk coming in at Crunch Time, Taylor Smith. They're going to be doing both sports. That's just how it goes this time of year. The next 2 weeks until basketball season officially ends. So we're not really going to be touching on the NBA. We're touching on this 7-game baseball slate. Will, welcome. How are things?
I'm good, man. Loving MLB. Dean, I've been close pretty much every day that I've played MLB so far. By close, I mean close to taking down a GPP. And so I just know, Dean, with this type of progress and results, the takedowns are going to start to show up. And so I'm just on a countdown for the takedowns, Dean. And I've been seeing the board pretty well here. Made some pretty good decisions. And this is why, Dean, for baseball, I love multi-entry so much, because I don't have to lock myself into an idea. I can explore multiple ideas. And, I think, once again, it's still early. Everybody's going to catch up. But, being able to experiment with some of these pitchers early on has really paid off. And so I'm hoping that today, especially on a day where it feels like almost every pitcher is an experimental pitcher, that I can get this thing right. I think my pitching pool, and let me see. I know we're going to get into that. I'm just kind of talking here. My pitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've only got 7 pitchers in the pool. And so that's pretty much cutting the fat, because you probably don't really trust any of them, but I do think this is a good spot here. So I'm pretty excited and ready to roll.
You're cutting the fat, but you're left with a really bad steak. It's like I don't know, whatever you get, like a Golden Corral or something like that. This is not we're not getting prime rib as far as our selections at pitcher. There are no number ones available, unfortunately, but we're all dealing with the same puzzle pieces. I feel like this is a really, really good slate to get different, right? Just because the chalk, whatever it happens to be, whenever we figure it out, it's not going to be good. Especially
the Yankees are the chalk. I can tell you that now.
Pitching. I'm talking pitching.
Oh, sorry. My bad. My apologies. Yeah, I'm with you. There is, the pitcher that's kind of getting most of the ownership, at least on DraftKings. He's not someone I typically trusted in the past. Spoiler alert, it's Sean Manaea, but he's a necessary evil today, facing the Detroit Tigers. We'll get into the particulars, but And to be honest with you, Dean, I'm pretty much playing, and I'll tell anybody this, I'm playing on instinct for about 2 months here with MLB because the 2024 data isn't really settled in. We're probably not going to really be settled in until I would say May. Sometime mid to the end of May, Dean, is probably when we start seeing some actionable intel. And I'm still using last season's numbers just to get a feel for who. What's that, Dean?
I'm doing the same thing. And actually, for a lot of the pitchers that we have in today's slate, you got to use data from like 2 years ago because some of these guys disappeared, went to the minors. Luis Gil was pitching in the majors a couple of years ago for the Yankees. We haven't really seen him since. He's been in the minors. He's only up because of the Garrett Cole injury. And, he's a guy that like flashed MK ability, also was super, walks too many guys. Now you'll see it on several of these guys we kind of dig into. And some of these guys are just like veterans. It's just, like the guy pitching for the Astros today is above 30. The dude pitching for Toronto is 27, 28. They're just no longer prospects. By the way, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to mention one of my favorite like kind of pivot teams, the Blue Jays. Kind of a bummer. There's no Bichette in the lineup. Bichette not starting today for Toronto. Springer, Vladdy, Turner, the Leprechaun, Varsho jumping up to the 4 spot. He's going to be really, really popular as like a cheapie to make stuff work. Alejandro Kirk, Clement, Kiermaier, the Outlaw, and IKF Biggio batting in the 9-hole there for Toronto.
And he's been good in the 9-hole really since last season, D. So he's getting a lot more ownership than I thought he was going to get today, honestly. I think when I checked, he was up to about 10%. And these 9-hole guys, I'm typically expecting them to be around, 5 to 8. And so when I saw him at double digits, I think he's getting more ownership than Gavin Lux, which is he's playing for the Dodgers. So that should tell you all you need to know about, how he's kind of started that out the season. But
it's position too, right?
Yeah,
second base is just. outside
absolutely.
of like spending up on Altuve or Betts, it thins out. I guess Marte looks pretty good in tonight's slate also, but traditionally it's not the best position. But continue, finish your thought. I apologize for cutting you off.
Listen, this is organic conversation, Dean. The people are coming here. We're not even talking shenanigans. We're literally discussing the slate. So I think everybody will be fine with our back.
The slate is shenanigans, if we're being honest. The slate is shenanigans.
The slate is the shenanigans. I got you. I think it's just interesting because we're going to do a lot of different things. And as we were talking pre-show, Dean, I haven't actually built any lineups yet today. Now I'm in lineup HQ. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm tinkering and I'm setting up my stuff, but I actually have not hit the build button. I have reserved 150, but I haven't hit the build button just yet. I will be hitting it soon. Ironically, Dean, I feel like a lot of times I have more lineups available to me that are confirmed by now. And I feel like out of this slate, we just have like a handful, which feels a little bit abnormal to me. But
NBA-ish?
Yeah, but when you look at the slate, the problem is
start times.
Got it's one game at 7:00, and then we've got an 8:00 game, and then everything else is 9 and a game at 10. So we may not get the actual ownerships until a little bit, probably during our show or during crunch time. And so that is kind of holding me up some, just because I don't like to keep re-crunching, Dean. That's just me personally. But once again, I kind of know what these teams are going to do. But still, I don't want to have to keep hitting the button and replacing and replacing and replacing. So I'll build during this show as lineups continue to come out and be ready to roll. But
here's what we know, by the way. We know Will Esteri-Ruiz is not going to be in the Oakland lineup because he was just optioned to AAA. The speedster. On the other side of that game, we might get a little bit of a delayed lineup with Boston because we're not sure about Rafael Devers. He was scratched a couple days ago with that back. I have not seen anything on that as far as him being
I think he did play yesterday. I think he played yesterday.
Oh, did he play yesterday? Okay. So if
I think he did. Let me check and confirm.
He did play yesterday. Yeah, my bad. I played yesterday too. How did I miss that? Was that on a different slate than the main slate? Or
I think they played later. I don't think he was on there.
That's what it was.
I think they were in the 4:00 game.
By the way, we have a question in chat. We have time to get into it. We have time to talk about this entire slate. We also have time. Will, I don't know if you're aware of this. You can play as well. Just don't give the answer. It's Monday, Will. But you know what that means? You know what it means when Monday?
Oh,
It
yeah,
means
it's movie Mondays. And as long as I'm coming on Mondays, that also means I'm going to be doing the crunch time introduction. Dean,
okay,
I've already given you the movie Monday crunch time introduction. If you can remember this from last week, you utilized that one specifically for movie Monday.
The days are all stuck together for me. Well, if you're playing Atlanta and the White Sox have just resumed playing, if you're playing the afternoon slates, that game just kicked back off again. I know it was in a rain delay for a bit. Speaking of weather, all the weather stuff is during the day, like during the day games. Last I saw with Kevin Roth's weather report, there's no issues weather-wise. Of course, if anything changes, Roth will be on in about an hour or so and give you some indication on what to keep an eye on. Also, speaking of weather, like early this time of year, Will, it's bad hitting weather. It's really not good. Firing up the Weather Edge. I was looking at good places to hit baseballs tonight. There really isn't any. It's never a good time to hit baseballs in Oakland, essentially. Dodgers, not a great ballpark for hitting. San Diego, more of a defensive ballpark as well. And the weather, let's see, Weather Edge, this thing's changed. I did hit refresh on this, and weather is fluid, as you know. 113 previous games with similar weather in San Diego. We've seen a decrease in home runs at almost 17%, a decrease in runs at almost 5%, according to Weather Edge. 59 degrees, kind of a crosswind. The dew point is 50. Slight bump in homers for Oakland, 4.5%, 64 degrees. Slight breeze out to right center. The Mets, we don't like hitting baseballs there. Polar Bear can bang it out anywhere, but it's not a great ballpark. Just a 20-game sample, slight decrease in homers, 52 degrees, wind blowing in. It's not good basically anywhere. Like one of the best weather spots is probably Houston because it's just neutral. It is what it always is, 72 inside or whatever they keep it. Is it Minute Maid still, or is it called something else? I'm not sure who sponsors it these days, but yeah, weather not popping. Pitchers are terrible. We'll discuss that. But there was a question in chat, Will, and you've won yourself a qualifier or two, I believe. I'm not sure if you dabble in the qualifying streets. I don't. Richard is saying, like,
I am trying to make it again this year. I'm actually trying to get it, and I want to win the whole thing and get that off of my DFS bucket list, Dean.
Richard wants to know any tips on winning a qualifier. I'm in the 190 tonight on DK. I mean, it is the full Ricky Bobby, and it's also like a great slate. Probably if you're going, my tip is you don't want to hear it. Like probably don't play them because they're a bankroll stuff. Win it. My tip is to win it. If you don't win, you're going to lose money, and it's really hard to do. I know people play for different reasons. There's a 324 person field, so it's a winnable field. You can definitely take that.
Who asked about that?
Richard in chat.
Okay, so let me say this: I've made it to 2 live finals in my DFS career, and that's when I was actually chasing them. So if you're wondering why I haven't made it to more, like I haven't really chased them over the past couple of years. As you guys know, I've been heavy in the prop game, still playing DFS, but have not been chasing qualifiers. So my thought process for qualifying is this. It really depends on what I'm doing in the field that I'm in. So that's just like any other DFS contest, right, Dean? Like if it's like, for instance, I think FanDuel has one that's like a $15 tonight. You got about, 1,700 entries. And you're going to be seeing some guys playing 50, 60 lineups. Okay. So my approach in that's going to be totally different because I'm probably going to need multiple bullets. Now, look, I've taken down tournaments with a single bullet in MLB, but that's not the norm. So I just want to put that out there. You're playing against about 324 people. My assumption, do you know how many entries are in that per person? Because to me, that does matter. It's probably, 5 or 6, I would say?
10. I'm seeing 10, 271 out of 334 is filled. The max looks like it's 10. You finish first, you get yourself a ticket. Second, you get $850. If you finish 8th, you get steak knives. You get the home version of this game.
Right. So
yeah, it's not great. You're shooting for first.
That's okay. And I actually think Richard won a satellite to get into this qualifier for what it's worth, Dean. So he's kind of, he's not technically spending all of his own money. But Richard, what I would say is in baseball, I'm inclined to get a lot more aggressive. but not stupid. So what that means for me is when I identify that the Yankees are the chalk today, like the Yankees to me are like way above normal ownership levels. Like on DK, when we've got, and I am hopping around here, but when I saw Gleyber Torres is about to get 20+% at the second base position, and so forth and so on, and you see, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to just go ahead and X all the Yankees out. Here's why: smaller field. You already know when you've got one bullet. If somebody's got 10, they're covering themselves, right? Then they're going to get some Yankees. They're probably going to get some Toronto, Blue Jays. They're going to cover their bases if they've got 10 entries. You've only got one. So when I look at the slate, I'm saying, well, I want to be aggressive, but I don't want to be stupid. What's the one team on this slate that could blow it out of the water and people aren't going to play it? I'm telling you right now, it's the Dodgers, because they're too expensive and nobody wants to play them, even when you can technically afford them today because the pitching isn't great. You can play in the mid-range. So my suggestion would be identify the other big stack that nobody's going to play and play them. I think it's the Dodgers. I'm not telling you to play the Dodgers per se. I'm telling you to find another stack. There's another really bad pitcher on this slate. And I guess you're kind of starting to get into my head now, Dean. We're going to hop.
They're all really bad. They're all different degrees of bad.
But I'm saying in terms of name value, we already know that Cal Gibson's not great. I know our good friend Kirk D says that the Padres are, like at the top of his list in terms of the gutless teams
no guts, yeah.
in the MLB. And that may in fact be true. But Cal Gibson's god awful, and the Padres are at home. And they're fairly expensive up top. Why am I mentioning this? I'm saying that because the Yankees are fairly expensive up top, but they're also going to get a lot of ownership. And you can easily pivot off the Yankees. If I'm playing on a qualifier tonight and I got one bullet in a small field, I am completely fading the Yankees, and I'm going to live with the results because the Yankees are getting most of the ownership today, in my humble opinion.
It's a 7-gamer, by the way. People are going to get to the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers is a pivot, and they're going to get the best. They are expensive. It's hard to load up on all of them because of salary cap reasons. But yeah, I'm trying to think of. I think Houston will be my team if I would, but they're going to be reasonably popular too. And popular is relative, but it's important to note. I think there's a little bit difference when it comes to attacking a all or nothing, essentially, which is what it is more or less. You're trying to hit first with a field of 300 as opposed to a field with like 3,000, right? Which you said the FanDuel one is. I don't have the FanDuel one open. I know the DK one's about 300. You can get a little bit. I think pitching is the way to be different. One of the ways to be different because we don't know, man. If anybody tells you, they confidently tells you these are like the 2 or 3 best pitchers in the slate, either they are lying or they have the magic 8-ball or they got Mr. Predicto or they have Gray Sports Almanac. Something going. There's that will be shenanigans going on because it's really, really hard to pinpoint who the best pitchers are on this slate. Do you want to mention? Yeah, I was talking about a Movie Monday. Let's give out the first clue to the people. And what is Movie Monday? What people are confused. What does that even mean? How do we do that? Well, Movie Monday is if I'm going to go ahead and give 5 clues individually. I'll release one every 10 minutes or so, give or take. You tell me what movie we're talking about. I'm talking about. If you're the first one to tell me in the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel, you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. And to be clear, that's not just for baseball. That's for all the sports, much like the sale we have going on right now. NBA, PGA, college basketball, March Madness, NHL, MMA, MLB like we're talking about. 6-month combo subscription, currently exclusive price of $469.99. Now, committing to 6 months, that would save you $250 as opposed to if you're like just paying a monthly fee. I want it this month. I want it that month, and keep going for 6 months. If you don't want to fully commit to that, you can get yourself 3 days. A 3-day pass gets you, access to all the same things: the bells, the whistles. You get, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, his articles, all the articles, the expert surveys, the rankings, Weather Edge, all the sports. $19.99. Have at it. But the very first clue, and Will, you can play along, please, by all means. Just don't blurt out the right answer. The very first clue is Middle Ages. Middle ages is the first clue. This one's going to get interesting. I'm really curious to see how the chat handles. They were very upset last time because I made it too hard for them. Yeah. Just don't give the answer. But you can play along if that makes sense. I didn't tell you the answer. For the record, people don't know if they're wondering if I told you. I did not tell you just because I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
People in chat, you're guessing in YouTube and you're having fun, and by all means go for it, but no guess is official until we get to it's got to be posted in the Discord channel. Producer Steve's keeping an eye on that. Oh, you can always guess once. You can only guess one time each round. You can't just like spam and just say like every single movie possible. All right. You want to talk ownership as far as the pitchers tonight?
Sure, Dean. And let me say this one last thing, because I am really interested in the Dodgers today for what it's worth. I just want to say this. People aren't going to play Freeman, Betts, and Ohtani together. That's just they feel like they can't afford it. You get what I'm saying, Dean? Like they're all 6K, and it doesn't.
I want to see if I can make that. Continue your thought, but I want to see what I can do with those three.
No, I've already been playing. I've already been playing around with it.
Okay.
So I know it's possible. You're going to be very uncomfortable with probably your secondary team, but like you can do it. And if you decide that you want to play, one of these bottom tier pitchers like Blanco or something like that, it's a little bit easier. All I'm saying is this: like, there are ways for you to get this done, and I'm literally building it right now, Dean. And this is more of a 4-4 type split, where I am playing, four Dodgers and 4 of another team. And I'm looking at it right now, Dean, and I may in fact put this in because this is freaking fantastic. I will maybe. Well, I can't tell the people what it is because obviously that would be giving them a full lineup. But what I will say, Dean, is this: I've got 2 pitchers. I've got a Dodgers wraparound, what we anticipate to be 9, 1, 2, 3, and I've got a bottom of the order 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's actually like I may in fact Dean put this in single entry. Like this is incredible because if it goes off, I win all the money. I'm saying that to say because I've had a hard time playing Freeman, Betts, and Ohtani in mass multi-entry, like getting all 3 of them in to like optimal builds. So I just don't think you'll see a lot of that. Just to FYI, I just want to plug it in since we were kind of talking through some construction, but this is amazing actually.
So I ran 45 lineups and I locked in those 3 players just to kind of see what I would get. I got like a Toronto stack of like not great Toronto Blue Jay players, but I got Dodgers.
But it's baseball. This isn't basketball.
Yeah.
Dean, the other day,
for sure.
The first slate, if you stacked up the right reds, everybody's at the top. If you got the right reds, you were set up for success. The rest of it, like that's the beauty of baseball. Believe it or not, the vomit stacks, as we want to call them, typically help you win more than they help you lose long term. If you're on the right teams, though, I'm not saying random vomit stacks, Dean. I'm saying like if you took a bottom of the order Dodgers lineup and maybe sprinkled in a piece of Freddie or a piece of Ohtani, a piece of Betts, you're typically going to come out okay. But at any rate, I'll concede because I know we got to go through the slate. But I have enjoyed talking about the slate with you.
We got plenty of time. Like when crunch time comes on, crunch time's going to come on. They're going to go around the horn. They're going to get their favorite pitchers, their favorite players, position by position, catcher, first, second, third. If people want that for cash game, for tournaments, and we'll kind of talk about that organically as well. But we kind of sort of have a conversation about the slate and like whatever we think is most important to focus on. And like general strategy is certainly something that, and even specific strategies, you're like, hey, let's try to load up with these 3 Dodgers and see what we get. And there's not a big opportunity cost to pitchers. I'm not saying I'll take any 2 pitchers, but like if I don't have Shamanaya, I think I'm going to be okay. I think I'll be fine. I don't expect him to go out there and crush. Now he's probably, I don't want maybe the best and I'm using air quotes, the best pitcher. But if Shamanai goes out there and gives up like 4 runs in 3 innings and walks 5, is anybody surprised? Like, absolutely not. Sort of surprising last year how he was in the starting lineup. He was mostly pitched out of the bullpen. The Mets signed him, I think, to a 1-year deal, not fully committed to him. He's fine. And Detroit's better versus lefties for what it's worth as well. Tanner Houck, good ballpark against Oakland. He's got some skill as well. So that's mostly what I'm getting is Manaea and Houck. Even with these 3 Dodgers, I'm getting some Joe Boyle, some Reese Olson. These are real players. McKenzie, who he's kind of a wild card. We've seen McKenzie in the past have games where he had like 10, 11, 12 strikeouts. It's happened before. I'm not saying I'm anticipating that tonight, but he's flashed upside on occasion. Bowden Francis does not look particularly impressive to me, and I'm more on the Houston side as far as that matchup, Francis versus Toronto. The knuckleballer with Waldron, I have no idea what to expect. Blanco for Houston, I'm not in on him either. But can you play him? Sure. I like to build my own little, I love the line, the Plate IQ tool, but I also like to see all the pitchers in the slate in one sort of sortable thing. And looking at Sierra, looking at hard hit stuff, looking at strikeout stuff, looking at just their overall stats and seeing what kind of jumps out to me. And Blanco looks, he's at the highest swinging strike rate on the slate, and second highest, I apologize. But the walks, 12.4% walks is too high for me. And also 45.7%, too many fly balls. So a lot of walks and a lot of fly balls it's a bad recipe. It's a bad recipe, but he does have the ability to strike some guys out, I guess. Swinging strike rate, and a lot of this stuff is small sample stuff too, right? Because a lot of these guys have not pitched a ton, or some of them, or plenty of them, have pitched out of the bullpen as well. And the bullpen stuff is going to be a little bit skewed because you tend to get more strikeouts out of the bullpen. You're only going 1 or 2. You might go full throttle as opposed to, I got to pace myself. I got 5. I say all that to say, I don't really love any pitchers. And I think that leads to another conversation as far as pitching. And something has to rise up as far as chalk. And, if I was playing cash games, sure, I'm going to play Manaea. I'm probably going to play Houck. But, you're not going to see these guys being 40, 50% owned on a future slate unless we're somehow on the same track of, these are all number 5s on a 7-game slate. This is the nature of the slate, and somebody's got to be popular, and those somebody's are Shamanaya. But if Shamanaya pitched 3 days ago, we would not even acknowledge his existence. It's just it's all relative to who your competition is. So I think starting at pitching is just, we're seeing 46% Manaea, 39% McKenzie, 36% Houck. Those are huge numbers. How are you handling this?
Let's talk through that. I think that's a good spot to talk through because I am probably playing pitcher slightly different. So you know how I told you I only had 7 pitchers?
Yeah.
That does mean that I had to get rid of some people that people are probably going to play. One of those guys is Mackenzie Gore, and I just had to take the full fade on him today. Not that he's getting crazy ownership because obviously Manaea is getting more than him, but if I'm going to spend, and look, he's 9K, so spending all the way up as we talked about is relative, D, right? 9K yesterday would have been fine, when you get 9K pitchers have been fine all week. Merrill Kelly was over 9K and Gilbert and others, but
there is no Kelly or Gilbert in this slate. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. And so I don't think Mackenzie Gore is $400 better than James Paxton. I also don't think he's $600 better than Tanner Houck. I also don't think, Dean, he's $1,200 better than Sean Manaea. I don't think he's $1,800 better than Luis Gil. That's just where I am, right? So once again, as I've spoken of, I'm playing a little bit more on instinct than data on the front part of the Can
you clarify, by the way, not to cut you off, but are you talking about McKenzie? Because Gore's not in this slate. Gore's pitching. No,
Tristan McKenzie.
Okay.
For Cleveland.
Okay. All right. Yeah. The chat was kind of discussing it, and I wasn't certain. I thought for sure you're not talking about Gore, but
did I say Gore?
Continue. TJ in the chat is confusing us. We might have to ban
TJ. Stop it! Don't do that, man. Don't get the pot stirred up for nothing. If I said McKenzie, I'm referring to Tristan, not Mackenzie Gore. Sorry.
Yeah. That's what happened there.
Hey, listen, TJ's got that dad brain going on. We're going to give you a pass, TJ. Go get some rest, buddy. Oh, I said Gore. Okay, sorry. If I said Gore, that's an accident. I was referring to Tristan McKenzie for the Cleveland Guardians. But I'm planning
it's like
on
one of those
fading
Wheel of Fortune before and afters. Tristan McKenzie Gore. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. My boy TJ. Yeah, I took the fade on him, and I feel fine with that, right? Like that's just one extra person. I don't have to get into my I don't have to get into my pool. Because Dean, here's the thing too. Like, I think something that we don't talk about sometimes is, and I know TJ and myself I think we played this way, and I'm sure a bunch of other people do as well. We don't try to load up our player pool with all the pitchers, even on a slate like this, where the pickings are slim, Dean. I don't care. I'm trying to find ways to get rid of people that to get rid of guys that I don't want to play. So he's one of those guys. So I'm perfectly fine, and I'll give you who I'm playing today. I've got Paxton, Tanner, Manaea, Gill, Nelson, Blanco. That's my player pool at pitcher today, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And we'll see where the cards land. Now, part of that is, I do want to get to a fair amount of expensive bats today, Dean. So, while everybody else may be dinking and dunking, I'm trying to hit a home run here with some of these stacks that I like. And so that's where the Dodgers are really important for me. I feel like those bats are way more important than these pitchers. Now, at the end of the night, one of these pitchers could go for 30, and I just have to hope that whichever one does well, I've got them in my pool. But that's one of my biggest, I think, calls today is I'm fading Tristan McKenzie, where I think the field, he may get some steam by the time we get to the end of this slate.
WV Reezer's got a good question in chat, a good refresher to start the season. The difference between the scoring system as far as FanDuel and DK. FanDuel,
one more thing, Dean. As an aside, I did write up Mackenzie Gore today at 5.5 strikeouts, and boy, he squeaked by and got 6 in the 5th inning and got pulled. So, but either way, if you follow me on Scores and Odds, we did make some money there. How many likes do we have, Dean? Do you know that answer? How many likes?
I don't have that in front of me, but I do know TJ and Spidey are lurking, and Spidey will give out the first Spidey bomb if we get to 50 likes, and I presume or 51. There you go. So I guess TJ will be dropping his
guess what? We have 51
bomb.
Likes. Thank you, producer Steve. At 51 likes, when I'm on, we get the K of the bidet. 51 likes. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way, Hesco Heights own Mr. Randy Watson. I'm
Sexual chocolates?
Yeah. Anyway, it's Chris Sanchez, and it's 15.5 pitching outs. We want less than that particular projection. Christopher Sanchez, once again, I think Sanchez is going to be fine in terms of facing Cincinnati, but I don't think he's going to get past 5 outs. I think when I checked his last outing, his last spring training outing, he hit about 72 pitches. And he's also a guy early in the season. I don't expect him to try to push him too far, Dean. I'm also expecting Cincinnati to figure out how to continue to hit well. They've got enough right-handed bats in this team to give him some problems. So I don't think Chris Sanchez goes past 5 innings today. And so for me, I'm taking the under there, I got him at around minus 115. That's Christopher Sanchez, less than 15.5 pitching outs. K of the bidet. And we're 100% on the K of the bidet, D. We haven't missed any so far this season. And if I'm not mistaken, I think right now I am 8-1 or 9-1 on Scores and Odds to begin MLB. And so I've got one more prop today, and that's Christopher Sanchez. Mackenzie Gore is already hit. We get that one, Dean, and we are 10-1, I think, on the season, which we're coming out of the gates pretty hot, considering we're really early and I've only missed one play.
Dare I ask the origin story of the name K of the bidet?
So Mr. Richard said K of the bidet, his invention. It is, in fact, Mr. Richard's invention. I think we were kidding around one year or last year, and just kind of talking through some stuff. And somehow we organically came up with K of the bidet. And I think people were looking through. They were talking about like actual bidets, like actually purchasing bidets and getting it shipped to their homes. And somehow we came up with the K of the bidet. Yeah, Kirkwood was talking about bidets. Yes,
He's a big bidet guy, Kirkwood.
Yeah,
big
it was some weird conversation, and so the K of the bidet is in reference to that conversation, and all the pictures that are going to spray our wallets with winnings. K of the bidet. There it is.
I don't want to go on a rant here, Will, but I know the people earlier in the day or scores and odds, they were talking about flexing, and I liked it as well last night. I wanted to bet under on the strikeouts, and I'm in Florida. There's only one sportsbook available, and they offer one way. You can only bet over on his strikeouts. You can't bet under.
Get out of here.
I'm dead serious. I couldn't believe it. What a racket. I thought, like, oh, it's just that game. Nope. It appears to be that's just their policy. Ugh. It's almost like a monopoly's bad for the public. Who would have thought? It's bad for the bettor. Who could have foreseen this? New lineups coming through, by the way. We should mention Lineup HQ giving the update as well. Let me give the rundown, and we'll go back on some of those questions that we were talking about before.
Toro playing today. Interesting.
Let's see. Which one are you looking at right now? I'm pulling up. Which lineup are you looking at with Toro?
No, I just realized his projection was in there. So I said, man, he's playing it interesting. Yeah. Who's just Hey Banners? We are not covering NBA on this show. This is MLB only. And Crunch Time will be covering MLB and NBA. So just want to answer that question for our good friend of the show, Hoosiers Hang Banners.
Cardinals lineup just came out a few minutes ago. That's Donovan leaving off with Goldie, Gorman, Arenado, Contreras, Carpenter, Walker, Scott, and Wynn. So the two speedsters there at the 8-9. We got the Toronto lineup. I believe another one kind of stuck in us for us.
And we're almost there, Dean. We're starting to get lineups because all my catcher pool, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 checks. I've got 3 more left. And same thing for first base. We're starting to get some checks in here. So this is really good. And I am very excited.
Still waiting for the Giants and the Dodgers. Those are probably going to be the latest because it's 10-10 as far as East Coast time. No Yankees just yet. Boston, Duran, Devers, Story, Casas, O'Neill, Yoshida, Emmanuel Valdez, Rafaela, and the flat-out punt catcher, Reese McGuire. Let's see. Padres, Bogarts, Tatis, Cronenworth, Machado, Kim, Profar, Campusano, Pauly, and the rookie, Jackson Merrill, still in the 9-hole. D-backs, Marte, Carroll, Gurriel, the red-hot Gurriel, Walker, Jock Jams against the righty, Suarez, Moreno, McCarthy, and Perdomo. We're waiting for Cleveland, right? So Cleveland we're waiting for, the Yankees, the Giants, the Dodgers. Question before I was going to answer it. They were asking about the difference between FanDuel and DK. Pitching-wise, you don't get docked for like hits and walks on FanDuel. You do on DraftKings. And also innings. You want to go 6 innings theoretically on FanDuel because you get that QS, you get that quality start. Quality start, not a thing on DK. Not something we have to worry about tonight, but like on future slates, like you get the complete game, the CGSO, or like even like the perfect game no-hitter. I think that's you get rewarded for that on DK, but not FanDuel. But nobody's throwing a complete game to maybe like the knuckleballer can throw a complete game just everybody's just hitting this ball, and because you can throw that for hours, right? But no, that's probably not happening. I assume that's not a thing. And also hitting-wise, correlation matters, stacking matters, but a little bit more it matters on FanDuel, just kind of the way the scoring system works. You benefit a little bit more when it comes to the correlation of like stacking 1, 2, 3, 4, knocking in the players, if you have all those guys. But certainly correlation's a thing on DK as well. Let's give the second clue, by the way, Will. The second clue for the people, for the movie. Clue number 1, and nobody got it in clue number 1, thankfully. Clue number 1 was Middle Ages. Clue number 2, this is going to be a little different, Will. You're not going to see this coming. Clue number 2 is Manu Ginobili. Remember him? Remember Manu Ginobili?
Middle Ages. Manu Ginobili.
Do not answer the question. Don't give me the answer if you have the answer.
Is he from Spain? Is Manu Ginobili from Spain? No.
I believe he's from Argentina. I think
Argentina. Yes. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dean. Not Spain. Argentina. The Gasols are from Spain.
Yes.
Middle Ages.
Rubio also.
Yes. Middle Ages.
Just
Manu Ginobili.
Yep.
Was Manu Ginobili in the movie?
Maybe he could have been. I mean, why else would I say his name unless there's some other reason that would make sense when I give all 5 clues? Again, jump in the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Give your answer. Tell me what movie it is.
It's The Last Dance, San Antonio Spurs edition.
I thought you were gonna go Save the Last Dance with I can't remember the name of that. All right. Pitching wise, anything else you want to say as far as the pitchers? Yeah, I know you gave your pool. Give your pool one more time if you don't mind. Instead of 7 guys, is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. James Paxton, Tanner Houck. Is it Houck or Hoke?
Houck.
Tanner Houck, Sean Manaea, Luis Gil, Ryan Nelson, Ronel Blanco.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want, since we're here, I don't want to be that
6,
guy.
I'm sorry, Dean. I've got 6 pitchers in my pool. 6. And it's those 6.
So it's no Manaea.
No, I have Manaea.
Oh, then I
Paxton,
apologize.
Hope, Manaea, Gil, Nelson, Blanco.
And Michael in chat says, I think Stevie says Houch. I'm like,
Turner and Houch. Okay, that's a throwback. Okay, listen,
that's his team too, by the way. That's his team, and he's still not getting.
Who knows the star in the movie Turner and Houch? Do not look it up. And it's actually
the star.
Not
it was
Houch.
Hooch. Hooch is actually the star.
Stop. Don't give him that clue. It was a play on words. Sorry. Who is the star actor in Turner and Hooch? Since now Dean went and Tom Hanks. So Derek's probably around our age. So good for you, Derek. Good for you, Derek. Good for you, Mike. Man, Turner and that was such a good one, Dean. Good job, guys. Good job.
I still say Hooch was the star and Tom Hanks was the co-star. That's the point I was trying to make. But anyways, let's see. So pitching wise, I think I'm okay. Like not playing some of these guys that are really popping as far as ownership. We're getting a new batch, right? 46%. Let's give it a refresh. It's even going to be higher than that. I do have the DK slate open. Probably should take a peek at FanDuel as well. DK, just a little more interesting as far as how the build works with 2 pitchers. Do you know where Marlo Hooch is from? B-Shot's throwing out Marlo Hooch. What movie is she from? Baseball movie.
Marlo?
What a hitter.
Well, I mean, is it a Field of Dreams?
No, it's a good guess, though.
No. I think I know
the answer is now in chat. Chat's giving the answer away.
League of Their Own. I confused them, D. Like I knew it was League of Their Own. I said Field of Dreams by accident, but thank you guys. League of Their Own is what I was shooting for.
My second favorite baseball movie of all time, League of Their Own. So I did the power rankings not too long ago. So we're seeing McKenzie coming in at 39%, Manaea 46%, Turner Houck 36%. I have hitting wise, it looks like Volpe's the most popular hitter on the slate, which is kind of interesting at 23%. Torres at 22. You're kind of referencing
you see what I'm saying, Dean? This is astronomical on this slate. I get it. They're like affordable, but come on. Like, what are we doing?
It's baseball and stacks are kind of unpredictable, and like homers, like arms are more predictable than bats, but like this is the one slate where I'm not sure if that's the case, like kind of sort of somewhat. But there's just no pitcher I feel like I absolutely have to have. I haven't made my lineups either for what it's worth because I'm not sure how much I need the Detroit New York game. I could always just plug in Manaea if I want to plug in Manaea and just figure it out from there. You got an hour. That's the only game at 7:00, right? 6 games backloaded, 8, 10, and beyond. We don't have a Dodger lineup just yet. And we could get something interesting with that lineup where maybe a player we're going to come out of nowhere unexpectedly in the lineup. We're projecting, we're going to project a bunch of lefties, right? Against Keaton, Wynn, Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, Muncy. Smith did not play last night, so he'll be back tonight for sure. Teoscar, Outman, Hayward, and Lux. And you know how that works. If a lefty comes in, Lux is at risk of getting the hook. Kike Enrique Hernandez can come in. Rojas, kind of a defensive guy, but he's also a righty that can come in and pinch hit sometimes. I think those are the 2 biggest pinch hit threats for the Dodgers. Chris Taylor he'll pinch hit if a lefty comes in a spot where it actually matters. If the score is 10-1, whatever, it doesn't matter. We did get Oakland's lineup too, by the way. I did not acknowledge it. Noda, Blade, Geloff, Brown, Rooker, Toro, Langoliers, Butler, and is that Hernandez? It might be Hernandez. Somebody was asking about, my apologies, I was kind of scrolling on through. Joe Boyle, Cleveland Picker wants to know about Joe Boyle. You can. I'm not going to say no. Like most of these pitchers, I'm not going to say, I'll flat out say no. So I think Boyle is somebody that can be the pool. I don't think you mentioned him, but I will allow it, as Dave Potts would say. Cheeseisgood.
Yeah, I'm not playing Boyle today, but that's just because, once again, I'm just trying to I'm really trying to just keep it condensed, Dean. It's 7 games, and I want to see if I can kind of hit the nuts with what I'm looking at and what I'm attacking today. And our good friend Daryl George, who always has a question either about Yahoo or a comment, says, why not pick the pitchers against Seattle and St. Louis, since these teams have the highest strikeouts, lowest OPS, and lowest ERA? Kiss method, keep it simple, stupid. What I will tell you, Mr. George, is if that's your thought process, and I repeat this from time to time and probably several times throughout the season, if that's how you want to approach the slate, my good friend JM to Win said the best way to be contrarian is to think for yourself. If you feel like that's the spot today, then go ahead and attack those guys. I just don't like Tristan McKenzie. So that's why I'm fading what McKenzie's facing the Oakland guys. But even still, I don't really care about him. But the
McKenzie facing Seattle.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Facing Seattle. Correct. They were facing Oakland. But yeah, I don't like McKenzie today. So that's why I'm taking the fade on him. I don't trust him enough right now. He's always a guy that could just completely get blown up coming right out. Yeah, so thanks, guys. I did know with Seattle I had a brain freeze. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, chat.
No worries.
But yeah, so I'm taking the fade on him. And then in terms of the St. Louis guys, I don't trust Waldron enough. So I like this whole game between the Cardinals and the Padres. The ball field is terrible, but I don't trust Matt Waldron for what it's worth. So this could very well be the spot where St. Louis decides that they can hit for one night only. That's a reference to a movie as well. One Night Only. I wonder who knows that movie. But so that's why. And then once again, Daryl, if you caught me earlier, once again, I did explain I'm playing a little bit more on instinct to begin the season than full-blown data. So I am using some of last year's numbers. I'm using some things that I gathered from spring training, and then I'm choosing to make these types of decisions. But if you feel like you want to use Emerson Hancock, I mean Tristan McKenzie or Waldron, like, please be my guest. That's just something I'm choosing to not do, and I'm giving you, my opinion here on the show. But if you want to play those guys, by all means, please. I full disclosure, I'm not doing it. I'm planning on attacking those pitchers rather than doing it. But
I'm confused where he's getting those. Well, where is he getting that number from? Talking about strikeouts. Is it just this year? Because this year is 3 or 4 games. I don't care about 3 or 4 games this year. I would use this year's data and last year's data. You can combine those two in the Plate IQ tool. And
let me say this, Dean. Let me say this now. There are instances, like, I do think there's value in looking at certain things, like especially with pitching. And I've probably mentioned this story a couple times too. But like 2 or 3 years ago, Carlos Carrasco just really had some underlying numbers that were just way off from his normal pitch numbers, right? Like his heart contact, it was just weird stuff. And so I decided that I was going to attack him with a really bad team because I thought his stuff was out of whack. And he did get shelled that game. And then guess what? He got put on the IL or IR because he ended up being hurt. And so I do think, like, when you're looking at certain things, like if you can gather that out of 2 or 3 starts, wait a minute, like, why is this pitcher's spin rate way off from what it has been? Why is his velocity out of whack? Hard contact is up, giving up more barrels, and all those data points kind of work together. I do think there's some validity in attacking some of that, and you can get some of that information. You can look in Plate IQ, obviously, but some of those other things I'm talking about, you can't get it from Baseball Savant. If you want to really, like, get into the weeds. But so yeah, just I do think there's some of it, but not like 100% this way or that way. I think it's case by case on stuff like that.
Yeah, so he was. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's more of a pitcher thing, and you dig in like if the fastball's down like 3 ticks or so, it could be alarming. It could be a slow gun. Let's see a couple games in a row. If it's and then now all of a sudden it's a pattern, then it could be an issue, and all of a sudden the IL sits on layaway. But if he's talking about St. Louis striking out a fair bit in the first 4 games, they're also facing Dodgers pitchers. Like, that matters too. But 4 games, I don't care. I don't care about how many times you struck out in 4 games, or the OPS is low. They're playing in a bad ballpark. And also they're facing Waldron, who's got a 17% strikeout rate they didn't make the last season or 2 seasons ago. We don't have a lot of data, but that's not a lot. I know he's a knuckleball. You don't see him very often, but I appreciate the thought process, but like, I do not care about a team struggling for 4 games. For me, I absolutely using the hitter data from last year, and I pull up the plate IQ stuff, and it's a pretty contact heavy St. Louis lineup. Donovan only 14% strikeouts against right-handers dating back to last season. Big sample size of 307. Goldie will strike out, but also he has a ton of power. Gorman, same deal. Those are the 2 big strikeout potential guys. Arenado, pretty contact heavy and also plenty of power. Contreras, 21% Ks. The plate IQ tool is your friend. It's my favorite tool that we have here at RG for baseball. Burleson has been a big contact guy at 12%. Walker still developing, 22% strikeouts. It's not ideal, but it's not horrible if he's like the 2nd or 3rd worst guy. Collectively, 20.4%. So it's not a very big number, and that's why I would. Now, does that mean you can't play the pitcher to face in St. Louis? No, of course not. But I wouldn't say like, oh, this St. Louis team strikes out a ton either, because you can pull a lot of like false data after 4 games. That's going to look completely different in 2 months into the season. That's sort of my perspective on that. All right. Butto wants to know if Aaron Judge is going to home run this week. Yeah, probably. Why wouldn't he? I would imagine so. Probably tonight. He probably has like a 35-40% chance to homer tonight, which is probably better than anybody on this slate, or at least on the Family Feud board. Butto also had a legit question asking about like using a reliever just because of how low the opportunity cost is tonight. It's just so hard to thread that needle of like, this guy's going to pitch and this guy's going to pitch at least 2 innings, maybe, or 1 inning and strike out 3 and get like 8 points. It's hard for me to thread that needle. I did not get to that thought process. Did you think of that, Will? I did not. I don't really see a clear, this is the reliever you roster.
Yeah, I didn't get there today. Yeah. And I very rarely will get to a reliever, Dean, because I do think there's always a way for you to win without playing a reliever. Now, you're talking about getting the showdown, totally different boat. Like
3 games or less, 2 games, showdown, sure, we have that conversation.
Yeah, now we're starting to get into reliever status. But, I'm playing a full slate of games. I'm mostly never going to play a reliever.
Reese Olson, 24.4% as far as Ks, dating back to last season. Pretty big sample, too. Relatively speaking, or so. Over 100 innings. Several people in chat are asking about Olson in tournaments, and I would say you absolutely can have him in your pool if you're running 10 lineups. If I'm running 10 lineups, he's probably going to make it at least 1 lineup for me. But, he's in the bag of like acceptable pitchers for me. And that's my rousing endorsement on Reese Olson. What do you got?
Yep, I'm with you. I just think he's okay. As you can see, I'm taking the fade on Olson today. But that's more of a just trying to get, really dialed into my pool. So I'm choosing to side with Paxton and Tanner Hoke over Olson. And I'm choosing, Manaya and Gill over the other 7K guys. So there you have it. I don't think Olson's bad, Dean. I just think he's okay. And I'm just choosing to not play him. That's really all it is.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well. I wanted to see if anybody on our lineup HQ is like tagged a pitcher. Like, I guess you got to tag one just because you have to tag somebody. But I'm curious. Dave Potts, Bobby Gomes. But I was asking about Paxton. Is he going to be in a pitch count? That is also worth noting too, which I guess kind of pushes down the upside of all these pitchers. Nobody expected to throw more than 90 pitches as a median. Kyle Gibson, the most at 88 pitches according to our projections. I don't mind him just because he's a professional pitcher and he can go 5 or 6. We've seen it before. And again, he's not going to be owned, and he's probably better than most of these guys. Now his ceiling's probably not higher than most of these guys, but we kind of sort of know what we're getting at a Gibson. And if you can get me 14 points on this slate, if you can find a way to get me 14 points at pitching, I'd be thrilled.
Good luck with your Gibson shares. I'm hoping he gets absolutely shit.
He might,
but I know I'm hoping that I'm stacking up a ton of Padres today. I think I'm trying to get them in about 25% of all my lineups. So let's hope I can get there.
We should give out the third clue. We want to give away premium before the Crunch Time crew comes in about 15, 20 minutes or so. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. You got Taylor Smith talking basketball. If you're like, hey, where's the basketball? Basketball's coming. And Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood will give you the baseball. Next 2 weeks, Crunch Time is both baseball and basketball. Giants lineup just dropped. Lee is starting left on left, leading off.
Slater Lee's good though. Played really well in KBO too.
Coming into this year, like the hype that I heard around him is that he's like a Luis Ariz with more power. So yeah, I think I bet the Giants to win the World Series at 50-1. I think they're one of the more underrated teams. And one of the reasons why is I think Lee could be better than people are just sleeping on him or not like acknowledging him.
No,
they added Soler and Chapman.
He's good, Dean. He's really good.
Snell, I think Harrison could take a step forward. I don't expect the Giants to win the World Series, but at 50-1, I threw a dart. Lee, Slater, very likely. I don't want to say very. Most likely, Slater gets the hook at some point if a situation calls for it. Once a righty comes in, he might be a goner. He might only see 2 at-bats because Paxton probably doesn't go through the lineup 3 times. Lee, Slater, Soler, Chapman, Murphy, Estrada, Conforto, another lefty, kind of buried a little bit, Ahmed, and Fitzgerald. So we're waiting on the Dodgers or waiting on the Yankees. Anything else we want to talk about before we talk about some stacks? Well, let's give the third clue. The third clue to the people. It might all of a sudden somebody's going to have that epiphany. They're going to get the answer. So far, clue number 1 for our movie is Middle Ages. Clue number 2, Manu Ginobili. Clue number 3, Stevie Johnson. Stevie Johnson is clue number 3. Middle Ages, Manu Ginobili. Will
Stevie Johnson.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I still don't know what it is, Dina. But in my head, I'm hearing Stevie Johnson. I'm like, that's the clue. Like, that's the one.
I think they don't get it here. They're going to get it on 4. But we'll see. We'll see if somebody gets it here. Middle Ages, Manu Ginobili, Stevie Johnson. So stacks tonight, right? Myself, Head Chopper, Taylor, Keith, we ranked our favorite stacks tonight. Collectively, as a consensus, I'm pulling up our rankings right now. There are 14 teams playing baseball. We rank our top 5. And what's interesting, Will, is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of the 14 were ranked in some capacity. Consensus-wise, number 1, the Yankees. Number 2, Houston. Number 3, the Dodgers. 4, Arizona. 5, Toronto. 1 person said the Giants. 1 person said Boston. 1 person said Cleveland. 1 person said San Diego. What do you think of those rankings? What would you move up? What would you move down? How do you feel about that board? Oh, boy. Somebody's on ultimate mute.
You got me. That was ultimate mute. And my lineup HQ is trying to load up. So hopefully it loads up and doesn't lag me too bad. But I think those are fine. There are some teams that are missing that I really like today. So it sounds like I'm going to end up being very contrarian. I like the Yankees. I don't love the Yankees, and that's partially because of the ownership, Dean. That's really where I am. So I think the Yankees are just okay. I do like Houston. I do like Toronto. I love the Dodgers. The Dodgers are probably my number 1. I am much higher on the Padres and the Cardinals probably than anybody else in the industry today, for what it's worth. Padres and Cardinals are high.
I think the Cardinals are going to be kind of popular on DK, just the way their prices work. I was running some optimals earlier. Let me double check and see what's going to get them pumped out for us. By the way, in chat, they're saying they win money every single day betting on the over on the number of ultimate mutes that Will gets. If it's half, that's like free money. That's a lot.
Listen, that's only on the morning grind. I don't usually mute myself too much on GrindersLive. But the morning grind is where you can make your money, D. See, you got to know which games you're going to win the money in. It's like the slot machines at Vegas. You got to know which ones is going to give you the jackpot.
None of them. Yeah, they're asking in chat, did anybody get the guess yet? No, I'm kind of surprised, but we'll see. We'll give let's do it back to back. Let's give the people some time to think about it. Middle age is number 1. Number 2 is Manu Ginobili. Number 3 is Stevie Johnson. Number four, Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic. This is a clue for a movie. What movie are we talking about? Middle ages, Manu Ginobili, Stevie Johnson, Nikola Jokic. I feel like we're going to get this soon, but maybe not.
Is Adam Sandler in this movie?
I do not believe so. That eliminates like 70% of movies. So yeah, Adam Sandler is not in this movie.
Nikola Jokic was in this movie.
I wanted to go ahead and rerun my my optimal stuff, and people are still guessing in the YouTube unofficial guesses. Did I throw you off? Are you thinking about this movie now? Are you trying to figure it out?
Yeah,
I thought for sure somebody would guess at this point. So
because for a second I was thinking it was there's a movie, but I don't think Jokic was in it. That was what was the movie? I know Trae Young was in it. Tobias Harris was in it. Kevin Garnett was in it.
I know you're thinking of where he was a scout. Adam Sandler was a scout. Yeah. Boban's in it. Yeah, it was pretty good actually. It was surprisingly good. It came out like a year or two ago on the Netflix. I can't.
Randy Borman says hot tub time machine. A for effort, man. A for effort.
It's not hot tub time machine, but sure. Shout out to hot tub time machine. So Cardinals are popular. Carpenter is kind of popular, which I don't like a popular Matt Carpenter. Is he just crazy
right.
cheap? He's 2-3.
Way more popular than I thought they were going to be.
And Donovan leading off is cheap too, and you got to love players leading off.
Yeah, on the road. Juancho was in that movie. Juancho Hernangomez. Thank you.
Yes.
Juancho was in that movie. Uncut Gems. Yes. Uncut Gems.
No. Uncut Gems is also an Adam Sandler movie.
True North got it. The True North has guessed the proper cinematic production.
Can I tell you something? True North got the very first one correct too. So True North is like a savant when it comes to this game. Hustle. Thank you. Hustle was the name of the movie in chat. And True North banked this the first time, and he got it again. I don't know if producer Steve can show off the reasons why these clues made an appearance. Number 1, did you see the answer by chance, Will, or you want to play along? Have you seen the answer?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Middle ages is number 1. Number 2 is Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili did a lot of things in his NBA career, but one thing he was kind of sort of somewhat, I don't want to say famous for, but known for. If I would ask you, who's the one NBA player in the middle of the game caught a bat on the court? Do you remember this? Manu Ginobili just like caught a bat out of nowhere. Stevie Johnson played wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. He was a pretty good receiver. He had his moments. But one thing he's remembered for is after scoring a touchdown, his touchdown celebration was lifting his shirt up, and he had a shirt underneath it that said, remember what was written on the shirt underneath? Do you recall by chance?
I do not.
So he wrote, "Why so serious?" on his undershirt. Nikola Jokic plays basketball in the NBA. He's got a nickname. What is his nickname? Nikola Jokic?
What is his nickname?
Oh, I'm asking. What is Nikola Jokic's nickname? It's the Joker. It's the Joker. So we got middle ages, bat, why so serious, the Joker. Clue number 5 is pitch black. There we go. We got The Dark Knight is the answer. The movie was not Joker. Some people, if you would have said Joker, it was because Why So Serious was only said.
Why So Serious was a good, that was a good one for the Joker for sure.
All right. So
Dean, can I talk about this? I just ran my first build. Okay. I just ran my first build. So because this slate is so interesting, I'm going to give people some insight on how I typically run. I typically run on DraftKings. I typically run about 35% of my lineups in a 5-3 stack. I run the other 35% in a 4-4. And then I typically run the other 30% in like a stack, and then like whoever they give me around the stack. You get what I'm saying? Just in case some weird stuff happens. Today, however, in terms of how we ran the stacks, or how I decided to run that, Dean, I ran 35% 5-3. I actually ran 40% 4-4 today. I won a lot more 4 and 4 than 5 and 3s, and I ran 25%. And I am running 150 lineups. And then you asked me why is that important? Because one of the first things I saw, I'm gonna in my lineup build, Dean, I got 2 of my pitchers. I got a full stack of the Cardinals, and then I got a mini stack of the Toronto Blue Jays. I got 2, and then I got a one-off from the Yankees and a one-off from Houston. See, that's the kind of stuff that when you're trying to tell the lineup builder, like, this is what I want to see on a slate like today, where maybe one stack does really well and you get a couple home runs from a game, but nothing extravagant. And maybe I have those home runs. So just wanted to put that out there. That's typically how I run. And my highest owned player on the board is Sean Manaea at 66%. I got way too much Sean Manaea right now. But, Dean, I may let that ride. I am overweight, obviously, on Tanner Hope, Paxton. Way overweight on Ronel Blanco. I think he's got a little bit more strikeout upside than the field does. And once again, I'm way overweight in the Padres. Like, I got 20% Jake Cronenworth when he's anticipated to be at around 5. So if these Padres do what they're supposed to do, I could be sitting pretty at the end of the night. I mean, I'm pretty much 3 times the field on almost all the Padres players, including Manny Machado, Profar, Merrill, Tatis, all these guys.
We got all the lineups now with the exception of the Yankees. Dodgers, Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Hernandez, Outman, Hayward, and Lux, as predicted. That's what we had the projection for. No surprises. We also got the Guardians, Juan Jimenez, J-Ram, Naylor. It's Josh Naylor. Freeman, Brennan, Loreno. The other Naylor. What's B Naylor? What's forgetting his name? Bo Naylor. And then we got Bran. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name. I should have practiced this one. You know how to pronounce that guy's last name? The shortstop. There you go. Rocchio? Not certain. Should know that one, but I do not know that one. Just waiting for the Yankees. We're expecting Torres, Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Verdugo, Volpe, Wells, and Cabrera is the expected New York lineup. So nothing really big as far as changes. Bichette, kind of like the big one that's not in the lineups today. He was somebody that I liked a good bit. I like Toronto a good bit, just in general. Still liked him. I think Toronto is, in one of the best hitting environments. It's weird to say in Houston, but when you consider the negative environment, just being neutral in Houston, it gets boosted up. As the season progresses, of course, environment there in Houston gets worse and worse. As it's stagnant, it stays the same, and everywhere else is heating up. But kind of where I'm at right now, Toronto's still one of my favorite teams. Let's see, what else is going on in chat? Are there any questions in chat as we yield to crunch time? Coming about 5 minutes or so. By the way, TJ is asking why middle ages, because Knights were very, that's what I was going to say, middle-aged like fighter, but that's like way too on the nose. So I cut it off, and I don't want to make it super obvious on the first clue, but that's the reason why middle ages was the answer. Knights, and Knights were, if you lived in the Middle Ages, Knights were a thing. That's all. Don't overthink that one too much. But yeah, you have any homer calls or any bets tonight? I know you have some bets you threw out for previous games. I know the people love you're in the prop shop. Fire off some props with the people.
Yeah, Dean, no problem. I'm always, pretty much ready to give out a few of those. And once again, the K of the Bidet, I am going with Christopher Sanchez, less than 50.5 pitching outs. You guys have heard my affection for the San Diego Padres today. Cal Gibson is at 50.5 pitching outs. I want less than 50.5 pitching outs for him. For those of you that are on FanDuel, this is not FanDuel, Prize Picks. This is Prize Picks only, Dean. Prize Picks exclusive. They're giving us Sean Manaea at 24.5 fantasy points, and they base it off FanDuel score, not DraftKings. So at 24.5, I actually really like Mr. Manaea today against the Detroit Tigers. James Paxton, this one, he's at 5.5 strikeouts against the San Francisco Giants. I'm rolling with 5.5. They're giving us that one as a demon on Prize Picks, Dean, which means we're getting a little bit of extra payout there. So I'm taking that one. Kyle Schwarber, if you can get this one on the books anywhere, he's at a half a walk facing oh my goodness, what is his name? He's facing Andrew Abbott. So he's facing a lefty today. I'm expecting Andrew Abbott to put together some pretty good control here, hopefully, and not walk Kyle Schwarber right out of the gate. So lefty spot. I'm expecting him to not walk Schwarber. Now, understandably, I know he's got to see the bullpen as well, but I hope that Abbott sticks around long enough to eat through at least 3 at-bats. And so I got Kyle Schwarber at a half a walk. I want less than that one. And then let's see. Well, Mackenzie Gore has already closed. I put that one in early this morning on Scores and Odds at 5.5 strikeouts, wanted more than that. And we were able to get that one. So those are a couple, Dean, that I have today. And hopefully everything comes together for us and we continue to sweep the board with these props.
Will you be watching the women's basketball tonight? LSU, Iowa, UConn versus USC. The chat's converting about it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to watch some of it. I'm in the middle. So, Dean, I've been watching the show Power. A Stars. That's a Stars show. I finished Power, the original series, which was 6 seasons. I've now also finished all the seasons that are available of Power Book 2 Ghost. I finished that one. They're going to close it out. This is the last season. It's coming up this year. I think in June and September. Part 1 in June and the other part in September. Excuse me, for Power Book 2 Ghost. So I have to finish that. I'm now on Power Book 3 Raising Kanan. So this is about Kanan Stark starting as a young guy coming up. So I'm on season 1 of that. I'll be watching that. And then by the time I'm done with that one, Dean, we'll be nowhere near the summer. So I am going to watch Power Book 4, which is Force, which is about Tommy Egan. But I heard that one isn't as good. But I'm going to watch it now because I'm already into the whole Power universe. So just going to watch that one. And then hopefully by the time we get to June, I'll be watching, the season finales of Power Book 2 Ghost. But we're going to have to wait until June, I think in September, before we get those releases. So I'm really, really excited about that. And that's what I've been watching in terms of my personal life, Dean. I've been fully ingratiated in the Power universe. So that's
Hallmark movies. I know you like the Hallmark movies, the Christmas movies. Those haven't worked.
Well, yeah. Listen, Hallmark. That when I want to feel good, I want to detach from all the negative energy that's out in the world. Hallmark movies they're feel good movies, trying to make you feel love, and they're gonna have their Christmas movies going in July. So I'll probably watch some of those. My wife, she likes to watch this thing called Love and Marriage Huntsville. We call it Ratchet TV. It's Ratchet TV. It's kind of like Housewives, but it's not exactly Housewives of.
It takes place in Huntsville, Alabama?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So yeah,
is that like a Real Housewives kind of spinoff?
But similar. It's not Housewives though. It comes on the OWN network, which is the Oprah Winfrey Network. So that's what that goes. That's my wife's show. And I kind of watch it with her. So that's our thing. We sit down on Saturday evenings and we watch that. And today, Dean, was Movie Monday. Crunch time is here. Say hello to our little friends.
That's good.
Will, that was well played. You gave me a heads up that you wanted to, lead in the crunch time, and that worked out perfectly. We got Kevin Roth. Kevin Roth, weather-wise, I think you're kind of done for the day, right?
Yeah.
After Atlanta, whatever the shenanigans as far as their rain, they were in a rain delay for a bit, on and off there with Chicago. Tonight should be pretty clean. Got some basketball with Taylor.
They never finished that game in Chicago for what it's worth.
They left out the last night. Yeah, it was like 9-0. They just, let's go home. It's over. Like, what's the point? I think that's what happened there, right?
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, they had a delay, and then they played again, and then they had another delay, and then they said, "Yeah, we've had enough of this."
Hey, Kevin, do you know what gym jams are by chance?
Gym jams? I know jock jams. I know slim gyms. I don't know gym jams. No.
If you
do you know what heebie-jeebies are?
Yeah, the old heebie-jeebies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Then you potentially know what gym jams are.
So
you learn things if you read all the nonsense. You got to some guck to get there, but you'll learn some things.
Got to read them.
Dave, I hit synonyms as well. So I was curious, like, what you passed on. I'm like, you went and highlighted gym jams, and I was like, your other options. Whim whams. Well, I don't know what a whim wham is, but that apparently is also a synonym for a heebie-jeebie, and a screaming meanie is also. I don't know if that popped up in your Google word.
Yeah. I like that. I just like gym jams because I was thinking ahead to how I could, change the name as needed. So that jumped in there.
We spent an hour and 20 minutes discussing the slate, and I still don't know what we said as far as like takes. And like I read your article today. It's great having you back, by the way. It's great reading your article. It's a really, really hard day to have takes, I think, especially from a pitching perspective. And you're not a take guy anyway. I don't think you'd average out. You're not the guy that says this is the pitcher that's going to do it today. I'm just really curious to hear your thoughts because it's gross. It's really gross out there. This is starter number 5s, and it's not very good. But myself and Will, we got through it. I'm curious to hear your analysis, and of course, Taylor. Good luck the last couple weeks here of the NBA season as well. Will, do you want to give the people a feel it in the plums, homer call, whatever you want before you step aside and get out of here?
I don't really have any feel it in the plums homer calls, Dean. But what I will say, because it's going to be obvious, I talked about it on the morning grind. I think Jordan goes yard today for what it's worth, but that's not anything that's out of the ordinary. If I had to go off the beaten path, I'm really in love with the San Diego Padres today. Give me Manny Machado to go yard.
Yeah, I think my main team is going to be Astros, and Jordan's obvious, and Tucker's obvious, but I'll go with Chas McCormick in the sneaky 7-hole against Bowden Francis, who I'm told is a person who throws baseballs professionally. That was Will. Stay tuned. You got Taylor with basketball. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood with baseball. You got Kevin Roth, chief mineralogist. Weather-wise, anything pops up, he's all over it. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. Crossover show. Only have, a week and a half of these left, maybe 2 weeks of these left. Joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, the man who liked the Millie so much, he just decided to win it twice. What up, Cheese?
Not much, yeah. As Dean kind of alluded to, it's just a weird baseball slate where there's no real reason to really love anything on the pitching side. So kind of everything on the hitting side. It's all very strange.
It's kind of fun, though. I mean, if you even have like kind of a lean on one of those guys being better, then, you get to play some guy who sucks for cheap, right? Maybe. There
is nobody good. And they're not even cheap. That's the thing. The cheap nonsense is over $6,000. So, like, if the cheap nonsense was 4K, I would play it and just hope for zero.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, we will dive into some baseball as well as talk plenty of hoops as well. We got Taylor in the house to talk some b-ball. What up, man?
Not too much. Glad to be back with you guys again for the second time.
How'd that guy, whatever we were talking, like Tuyasa Sopo, whoever you were talking about Friday, how'd that guy do?
I think it was Pojemski.
Yes,
not
absolutely.
Sure he did too well. Yeah.
Well, that's no good.
No, didn't quite pan out, but it's a new day.
Yeah, we can pick someone new with a ridiculous name today to get behind.
And we will absolutely do that.
I know you will.
Can I ask real quick, is for both of you this LSU Iowa game must-see TV are you watching?
What are you talking about?
Wow, that's just incredible.
This must be women's college basketball.
It is, yes. Well, Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
Caitlin Clark
Okay.
played at LSU.
I had no idea who. I know nothing about. Is there some storyline about LSU and her?
Yeah.
That's a serious question. I obviously.
Yeah. So in the tournament last year, she got knocked out by LSU. There was all kinds of smack talk. It was a wonderful thing, and now she gets a shot at redemption against LSU. And this has been building for a full year, and it's going to be freaking incredible. At least I think so. But I assume, based on your reaction, you will not be watching.
I will not be watching, but I hope it goes great for everyone.
Okay, Taylor, will you be watching? Am I alone? Am I alone in my enthusiasm for this?
No, you're certainly not. I think the contrarian take is probably to not watch. Like, I might fly by there. I obviously have heard, amazing things about all involved, but we'll see. I don't even know when it starts. Is it starting soon? Do you
it
know
starts at 6 hour time, 7 Eastern, 6 my time.
Okay. I know there was weirdness yesterday with like the 3-point line in that game.
Yeah, that
was the 3-point lines weren't the same distance or something, which seems.
Jeez, this is a legitimate, like, in the tournament, the 3-point lines for the two sides were at different distances.
Seems a little problematic.
They're like, we'll just let it go. Anyways,
wrong.
Yeah, it's not great. Caitlin Clark, she's amazing. She just dribbles past half court like Steph Curry and just launches. It's so fun, and she makes them. Highly recommend everybody checks that out. K-Town's Finest says, dude, that game is going to be lit. Caitlin gets her redemption. She's got some swagger. I've never been this excited for any women's sports. I am barely this excited for even men's sports. So I'm pretty damn pumped for this game. With that, we got too much to get into to really linger on women's sports. We got to talk about the slate. And I think we're going to start talking baseball. Does that sound good, Cheese?
Yeah, we'll do what we did Friday. We'll talk baseball, and then I will answer questions in the chat while you guys are talking hoops, and then we can do questions from everywhere.
Okay, I'll lead off by saying there are no weather concerns tonight. We had our weather concerns in Chicago. Those kind of worked out, but now everything is fine. So no issues out there weather-wise. Cheese, let's talk about the slate, and we generally start with the pitchers, even though now we're on every team's fourth best pitcher, I guess.
Yeah, fourth or fifth on a lot of them.
Yeah.
Essentially, we have this weird spot where Sean Manaea is like massive chalk, which is just weird. Like he's not a terrible pitcher, and it's a pretty good matchup. And if he weren't like super duper chalk, I would say he's just obviously the play, and you should just play him. But Sean Manaea, the Tigers aren't actually that terrible against lefties. Like the matchup is not as amazing as it might seem like it is. It's good. So like if we're playing a pick'em and there's no such thing as ownership, I would just play Manaea. As it is, I'm under the field on him in like higher dollar, smaller field tournaments because that's where his ownership is going to shoot up. I'm still my whole overall portfolio. I still have more Manaea than anyone else because he's cheaper than the other just kind of okay pitchers. The other kind of okay pitchers are James Paxton, Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Houck, Reese Olson. I think Houck will be the other chalk. Certainly on DK, Manaea Houck is the chalk. And that's all fine and good. I think it's good enough chalk. I'm playing a little Reese Olson just to be different. Like all these pitchers are pretty close, with the exception that Paxton and McKenzie have actually both been really good in the past. McKenzie 2 years ago, Paxton, I don't know, when I was a child, he was amazing. But we just don't know. Like McKenzie hasn't pitched since basically 2022. Paxton only pitches a little bit every year, and he hasn't been great in a while. So what I said in the musings, and I'll say it again here, those five guys, Manaea, Paxton, McKenzie, Houck, Olson, I'm just splitting them up and throwing them in random orders for no reason. Realistically, they're all going to score like 12 to 15 DraftKings points and like 25 FanDuel points, and it probably doesn't even matter which one you have. But because of the way opening week baseball starts, like one of them will probably get pucked or obered and just get killed. And as long as you don't have that one, then you're fine.
Right.
But I see no reason to project any one of these guys to be that guy. Like it would just be a dumb, pointless hot take with nothing to back it up. So I'm not going to give.
But
you
at
a
the
totally
same time,
hot take.
Any one of them could be that guy tonight.
Yeah, because these are not great pitchers. So what I would say is it really makes the most sense to be underweight on Manaea. Like it's just weird ownership for Sean Manaea. And that's what I've done in like my higher dollar stuff. And officially my favorite is Reese Olson. But please don't put too much into that because none of these guys are great. I would say I have Paxton and Olson more than the chalkier Manaea and Houck. But you'll notice like I have Manaea and Houck tagged because that's just what makes the most sense. Like if you were playing cash games for some reason, I would tell you to play Manaea and Houck. And then there's plenty of cheaper stuff, but it's not cheap. And it's a bunch of guys who have essentially never pitched in the majors or like a couple innings here, a couple innings there. I'm playing Bowden Francis as a guy that like he has as much chance to go negative as to put up 20. But in a small sample, he had a crazy high strikeout rate against righties last year. And Houston is 2 amazing lefties and then 7 righties. So I'm not sure that he can't get a whole bunch of strikeouts. I think it's a long shot, and don't play too much of any of these cheap guys. The other cheap guys that I think you can play, Ronel Blanco, Joe Boyle, Kyle Gibbs is not really cheap. Emerson Hancock's not really cheap. Louis Gill, whose name is Heel. Again, none of these guys are cheap or good. But the cheap, not good guy that I'm personally playing most of is Bowden Francis.
Okay, fair enough. You want to kick it over to some stacks?
I do. Yeah, the bats are much more fun to talk about because obviously no good pitching. All the hitting is good. Obviously, we've got the Dodgers. My favorite teams here are for stacking are Toronto, St. Louis, San Diego, and the Yankees. Followed closely by Boston and the Dodgers. But I'm stacking everybody. If I was only doing 10 lineups, I would have 10 different stacks. Because there's no good pitching, it's all pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason I like all these teams. But if I had one lineup, it would be either Toronto or St. Louis, probably. Just to be they're a little different and they have the same kind of upside as everyone else.
Is there any way of going too chalky here, or with 5 meh pitchers and with all the stacks being good, is it going to be fairly spread out ownership wise?
Yeah, I don't see hitting ownership being like we don't have a single batter projected over 20%. And I think that's correct. I think it's spread out enough that you play who you like. And I think the only thing you have to worry about ownership is on the pitching side with Manaea.
Okay, very nice. Well, let's go around the horn. We'll go position by position. We'd like to start a catcher and work our way through.
Yeah, as usual, you can play Will Smith if you have a little money, or else mostly a guy in a stack, except it's all pretty good. Like there's this whole group of catchers from like 3,300 up to 4,000. They're all actually pretty decent plays. I like Alejandro Kirk and Wilson Contreras, but like Yainer Diaz, Mitch Garver, and Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh.
I
Gabriel
like that.
Moreno. Yep. All those guys are pretty decent plays. But the only guy I sort of love outside of stacks is Will Smith.
Okay, first base.
It's not super deep at first base, but it's pretty good up top. You got the Dodgers. Freeman on either side, Ohtani also there on DraftKings. I like Vlad the best and Christian Walker with Paul Goldschmidt kind of next in line. So that's kind of my go-to expensive-ish, but not like break the bank expensive. I don't love the cheap stuff at first. Like it seems like Ryan Noda should be like 2,500, but he's like 38 on DraftKings. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's not even cheap. The only cheap guy, you know who it is. It's Matt Carpenter.
Oh,
back in our lives.
oh, he's still alive. I thought he had maybe passed of old
and-
age at this point.
I mean, it's crazy that he's still, but the Cardinals have a whole bunch of guys injured, so he's going to get some playing time, and he's 2,300 on DraftKings. He still hits the ball hard and in the air, so it's actually not a terrible punt.
Was it just last year when he started the season just like wrecking home runs?
That was 2 years ago, but
It was 2 years ago. Okay, all right.
he's still got it. I mean, and by got it, I mean he's almost like Joey Gallo at this point. Not that much power, but he's going to swing and miss. But the ball's going in the air.
Yeah. Okay. How about second base?
If you have money, Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is fantastic. On FanDuel, I love Gleyber Torres at just 3,200. I like Nolan Gorman and Ketel Marte as well. I'm not really playing Altuve outside of stacks, but I wouldn't talk you out of it. I'm mostly, if I can't get up to Betts, I'm trying to get Marte or Torres or Gorman. And if I need savings, Gavin Lux is kind of the go-to guy there.
Okay. Then third base.
So in the scheme of the slate, Jose Ramirez is not like a priority spend up, but I do like him a lot. I think everyone's going to be spending their money on Betts and outfielders. So Ramirez is sneaky is not the word, but he won't be super popular. I like Devers. I like Machado. Kind of Matt Chapman. And if you need cheap stuff, Graham Pauley is a rookie for the Padres. He's 27 on DraftKings. Decent hitter. Oswaldo Cabrera. There's plenty of ways to go cheap if you need it.
Okay. Shortstop.
So we do have Mookie Betts on both sites is now second and short. I think I like him a little better at short. Short dries up pretty quick. Manny Machado is also shortstop on DraftKings, but not on FanDuel. FanDuel with Betts being like more than $1,000 more than everybody else. I'm playing a little more Francisco Lindor. I don't love Lindor. It's just there's sort of this. It's just kind of a dead position if you can't get Betts. I don't mind guys like Volpe or Jeremy Pena, but these are not good hitters. It's kind of more like catcher today. You play Betts or you just play a guy in your stack.
Okay. Then we go to the outfield.
Yeah, this is where it's all going on like every day. The three top plays on the slate for me are Judge, Alvarez, and Tucker. Ohtani, of course. Corbin Carroll's a great play. Soto and Stanton. George Springer, I love. A little cheaper, you got guys like James Outman, Dalton Varsho. They're kind of like mid-tier-ish. Teoscar Hernandez. There's so many plays. You can punt one outfield spot if you need that. Ideally, I don't really want to go lower than Dalton Varsho if I don't have to. But you can play like Victor Scott, still minimum salary on DraftKings. There's kind of random power guys like some, A's bats like Blade and stuff. It's fine. I do spend my salary on the outfits that up top.
Okay. Eric in the chat says, hey, did Cheese just say Volpe isn't a good hitter? You did say that. Do you stand by that? You can. I don't.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a good real life hitter. He is a good fantasy hitter, which I realize we're playing fantasy. Like he has speed and power.
Yeah.
Not a hitter at all. I think really, but right now he's certainly not.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I would like better than the 209 average from last year personally. That's about what I hit last year in the majors.
That's not very good.
But he does have power and speed. You get points for those in DFS. But you still got to hit the ball or get on base to make those happen.
Yeah. Okay. Anything you want to add here, Cheese, before we kick it over to some hoops?
No. I'll go hang out in the Discord live stream chat and answer some questions if you have them until we all come back together.
Okay, that sounds good. We will kind of loop you back in 10, 15 minutes or so. In the meantime, we will talk some b-ball. Taylor, what's been happening here up until this point, and what are we still waiting for to break?
Well, I think we got all the news, actually. Every game starts between 7 and 8. 4 of them start at 7. So nothing we're waiting on. We got Cade Cunningham in, Marcus Sasser out. I think that was the last one that we really had outstanding, some Chicago stuff, but those guys are in. So I think we're good to go. Just waiting on lineups to trickle in, but otherwise all the news is in unless something unexpected happens and ruins everything.
Okay, and I do want to point out to some people who are trying to ask Cheese questions in the YouTube that he is hanging out in the RG Discord, because that's where the cool kids hang out. No better reason than that to make sure you are joining the RotoGrinders Discord channel. And it's just, there's a million reasons why you should be in it. It's super useful. It's organized. It helps keep things smooth. So make sure you are jumping in that if you want to ask Cheese some questions. Taylor, with that, let's run through this slate here.
Sounds good, man. So the value is a little suspect. That's kind of the state of the slate.
And before we get in, I'm sorry, Taylor, I don't mean to jump in. Do you want to go with like a FanDuel build first and then DK?
Yeah, we'll start on FanDuel. That's fine.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so Memphis always has injuries. They're playing Detroit tonight on the road. Ugly game. 2 bad teams that aren't going anywhere, but there's value to be had on both sides. Luke Kennard is kind of a standout play on both sides tonight. We just got news that he's starting, along with Scottie Pippen Jr. in the backcourt. Luke Kennard, not the most exciting per minute guy, but the role's there. Memphis is pretty thin on guards, so 4-7 for him. Point guard, shooting guard, definitely a cash play if you're brave enough to play cash at this point in the season. Pippen starting does put him in play. He's point guard only, but certainly opportunity costs at this position. It kind of looks like a pay down spot. Cade Cunningham is a guy on the other side of that game getting into some lineups for 8-5. Now that we got the news that he is in. Derek White too. Jaylen Brown's out for the Celtics. So Derek White, point guard, shooting guard for 7-6 is okay. He gets a pretty big usage boost in that scenario. Some of the Bulls look pretty good. Kobe White is kind of around the 7K range on both sites. Good matchup for them against Atlanta. Pace up spot for Chicago. Alex Caruso officially in, shooting guard, point guard, also 6K flat. You're considering at both positions. Ditto for CJ McCollum. A little easier to get to on DK. He's priced up a bit more on FanDuel, but the usage should be there with Brandon Ingram still out. Minutes should be secure with Jose Alvarado still out. So I kind of think that's what you're looking at on FanDuel. Maybe Delano Banton. Not a bad play off the bench for Portland, but they are in a rough spot on the road against Orlando. Shooting guard, I touched on most of them already. Cam Thomas is one I didn't. High usage guy for Brooklyn. Pace up spot for them against Indiana. I like him quite a bit. Offers a nice ceiling, and the minutes have been really high of late. So he's a good play in all formats on both sites. Not really much else for cash or tournaments, honestly, at shooting guard. Maybe Jalen Suggs as a GPP play, but don't really need that. I think the other plays are strong enough to where Suggs kind of falls down the power rankings a little bit.
Okay.
Small forward, there are a bunch of small forward only plays. Trey Murphy being one of them for 6-7 on FanDuel, starting with Ingram out still. Tight spread in that game, New Orleans against Phoenix. So I think he's a pretty good play, high floor, some ceiling there. Tosan Iwoma is going to be our name of the night here, I think. A value for the Pistons, 3-9. Let's see, have we gotten that lineup yet? We have, and he's in it. So Iwoma's an okay punt. Not the most comfortable value, but under 4K on FanDuel is kind of hard to come by, so I think he's okay.
Is that the dude who I'm seeing here that is EVBUOMW?
Yeah, it's not phonetic at all.
It is not. I am so impressed with your pronunciation. I would have just absolutely murdered that. Good work.
I've been on the show and butchered it before, but hopefully no one remembers, especially
Nice.
now
Good
that I'm
job.
saying it aloud.
Good job.
Thank you. I mentioned Brandon Miller, another small forward only play. DeMar DeRozan looks okay. He's kind of priced up though, but it is a good spot against Atlanta. I don't mind the Bulls at all tonight. Miller and Miles Bridges are a little cheaper than they have been lately for Charlotte, but they are playing Boston really not a good matchup at all. They're huge underdogs. The Hornets, I think they also played yesterday. So, yeah, not the most comfortable plays, but I think they're okay. Paolo Banchero looks solid. Power forward, small forward eligibility on FanDuel. Don't mind that. Good matchup for them against Portland, although they are also big favorites, so there's some blowout risk. Shifting to power forward, there are a bunch of guys here that are only power forward. Zion is the headliner. He's over 9K on FanDuel, but I can argue that the salary has not come up quite enough for the role he plays with Ingram out. Just going to play him no matter what tonight. I think he's the best play on the entire slate. Some value guys, Jabari Walker and Grant Williams. Grant Williams is starting for Charlotte with Nick Richards out. He's kind of the most palatable Hornets player just because he's cheap and I think he's okay. Walker starting for Portland with Jeremy Grant and Tumani Kamara out. I think he's a decent play too for 4-5 on FanDuel. Don't mind that one.
Tumani Kamara to what? Carry.
Throwing me off there, man. The last power forward is Pascal Siakam. Easier to get to on DK where he's small forward, but don't mind that on FanDuel. And then at center, Jalen Duren and Miles Turner. Duren is the one that stands out the most for 7-5. Grizzlies don't protect the paint quite as well with Steven Adams gone and all their injuries. So I think Duren's your cash center on FanDuel and probably your tournament one too.
Okay, let's kick it to DK and walk through your build over there.
Let's do it. It's going to be a lot of the same names, of course. Drew Holiday is one I didn't mention on FanDuel, 6-4 on DK. Should get a usage boost for the Hornets with Jaylen Brown out. Cheap enough to get to. I don't think he's a bad play in that good spot against the Hornets. CJ McCollum is point guard only over here. He looks good. It's going to be a strong play in all formats as well. It's going to be quite popular. He's high on both. I think they're two of the better plays on the slate. Cade Cunningham, point guard, shooting guard, mentioned him on FanDuel. Trying to look for some differences. Malachi Flynn maybe as a full punt with Marcus Sasser out, but not too excited to get to that. Shooting guard, Luke Kennard. Can't play him at point guard, but still certainly a good value starting for the Grizz. Noto has him tagged as a core play tonight. Trey Murphy, Cam Thomas, guys I mentioned on FanDuel, also good on DK. Derek White, a little pricey, but don't mind it. Pascal Siakam, like I mentioned, is small forward eligible on DK. One of the better plays on the slate, too. He's played quite well of late. Brooklyn is a good matchup for the Pacers tonight. Ryan Rupert is another kind of punt to consider, just playing a bigger role for the Blazers lately. They have a really low total of like 96 points, but minutes should be secure enough. I don't think he's the worst punt on this slate. Power forward, Trendon Watford. I don't think I mentioned him on FanDuel. He's cheaper on DK, 3-6. The minutes have been up off the bench for him lately. He played 29 yesterday. Good per minute guy. I think he's a fairly safe play in a good matchup against Indiana. Should be really popular on DK, but I think it's warranted. Zion, I mentioned. Grant Williams, I mentioned. Siakam, Jabari Walker, all the same guys at power forward. Center, you can play Watford and Williams and Walker and Jalen Duren. So pretty much the same stuff here. Valanciunas maybe in a tournament if you're brave, but the minutes have been all over the place and there's no floor there at all. But I think he's viable just because the slate's kind of short and center is not that great.
Okay, very good. Guys, we did that in record time. We still have 14 minutes for some questions. Cheese, is there anything that you would like to add? Maybe you've seen a lot of the same question coming at you and you want to clear something up, or if not, we can just dive into everybody's individual questions.
Yeah, no, we can dive in. I think we'll take any questions at this point.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is, as usual, I'm going to start in the RG Discord. That's where the cool kids hang out. Then I'll work my way over to the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit us with that thumbs up. This is fantastic free content, multi-sport free content. And you probably bet the under in the Cubs game and already won money on that because you know how much weather matters there. So just hit the little thumbs up. Let's see what we got here. What are your thoughts on Nurkic, Taylor? Nurk.
I don't think anyone's going to play him, so I don't mind that. Not the easiest spot against New Orleans, but the minutes for him are generally safe. So strictly tournament, but it is okay. The only issue is 25 minutes, and he's not super cheap. So buyer beware.
Yeah. Okay. More B-ball questions coming in. Your DKGPP, Taylor, Cam Thomas or Kobe White?
I think Thomas might be more popular. I do like White, so I'll side with White.
Okay. More hoops. Stephen Pereira says, favorite small forward in a DKGPP, Taylor, 6,100 and under at small forward on DK.
Let's see, 6,100 and under. There's not a whole lot there. Probably Caruso or GG Jackson.
Okay, very nice. Cheese, we've got some baseball coming in from Cheyenne. How much do you like Tanner Houck on FanDuel tonight versus Oaktown?
Less on FanDuel than on DK. Like I would call him my fourth favorite pitcher. Like those 5 pitchers are essentially a tie. But I don't like Houck quite as much on FanDuel.
Okay, that's fair. JT Money says, hey, Cheese, if this is too out of the ordinary, just say you can't at the moment. But I was wondering if you had 2 MLB player props that you like today. I have a free pick on Bet6. I do believe you're not one to follow the sports betting odds, right? You stick to the DFS world.
Yeah, wouldn't even know what the odds are. I apologize.
Yep, no, all good. FanDuel GPP, we're going back to some hoops. Taylor, any love for Hawks Bogdanovich?
Not really. I think he's a little bit priced up. 7.4. That's too much for him. Jalen Johnson is back, so that's the number 2 usage guy for the Hawks coming back. Bogdanovich is just overpriced.
Okay. Let's see. Eric Johnson says, Taylor, why is Franz Wagner going to do well tonight? Not is he, but why is he?
I didn't mention him, but they're playing Portland, so good matchup. He's decently priced on DK, not pulling any ownership at all, so he's fine. But generally, the ceiling with him is pretty low.
Okay, we'll go to Vincent DeMarkey. Another hoops question here. DeJounte and Cade together in cash. Is that okay?
What site was that? No site.
It didn't say.
DeJounte is a bit pricey. I mentioned Johnson coming back for the Hawks. I don't think he's going to be quite as good as he's been the last several games, but if you land there, I think it's okay.
Okay, great. Cheese, do you have a favorite FanDuel pitcher? He says, I thought your answers were maybe more DK based earlier. I don't think you really separated it.
Yeah, they're kind of the same. It's the same deal where Manaea is the best play for the price, but he's still weird chalk. So I would say Olsen and Paxton are my 2 favorites, just because, again, all 5 of those pitchers are the same-ish, and I think those 2 get less ownership and have the upside of at least as much upside as Manaea.
Okay, we'll go to Peter's question. Cheese, which Red Sox and Yankees are your favorite plays?
So I love the Yankees. Like, obviously, Judge. Like, Judge is arguably top play on the slate. Love Gleyber Torres. Those are my 2 favorite Yankees. Red Sox, Devers, and Mikasas Sukasas.
Very good. Going to buy us just a little bit of time, make sure everybody's getting their questions in, and let you know that, let's see, still in beta. This is amazing. SimLabs DFS expert lineup generating tool from RotoGrinders and Fantasy Labs is available for MLB. It is in beta, which means it is still free, and time is running out. It is waning how long that will be free. Just takes a few clicks. You can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups for whatever contest you're playing. You can try out SimLabs beta for MLB while it is free right now. I cannot promise you it will still be free tomorrow. And with 8-9 minutes here, you still actually have time to build lineups for tonight's slate with SimLabs, because it's that easy. Back to the Discord here, and we'll go to DK. It's a hoops question. Taylor, DK GPP, Ivy or Schroeder? I already have Cade in this lineup for what it's worth.
Since you have Cade, I would go Schroeder.
Very nice. We Want Dean says, is it too late to shout out Dean? No, it's never too late. Shout out Dean. Never. You can shout out Dean all day long. He deserves it.
Hey, let me
FanDuel's
jump in for just a sec.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pause. I had some questions earlier. We were talking about Volpe. Volpe was questionable because he was hurt, but Peter just posted a lineup. It looks like Volpe is in the lineup. So just to clear that up, because we were talking about that earlier. He was sick yesterday.
And that Yankees lineup was late to be released. Was there any other changes, or do you think they were just waiting to see if Volpe could go?
Yeah, I think it looks normal. We got Torres, Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Stanton. That's really what you were looking for.
Okay, very nice. Taylor, let's see. FanDuel single entry question here. Scottie Pippen Jr. or Suggs?
I think Pippen is a little bit better, but neither is very exciting to me.
Okay. We got back-to-back cheese questions here. The first one is FanDuel Cash Cheese. Betts Tucker or Otani Alvarez? I mean, these are good.
Wow.
These guys can hit the ball quite well.
I mean, those questions are so tough. I would bet Tucker for cash on that, but just yes.
It's hard to tell anyone.
Yeah, the difference between Tucker and Alvarez, like Alvarez is a better hitter, but adding on the speed that Tucker gives you in cash, like gives you that extra way to get those extra 5 points that really matter. So I think I would go that way.
Okay. Have you ever said the wrong answer that Otani and Alvarez is the wrong choice? Could you ever imagine
that
a world?
Wild? What kind of world is this? Just play all four of them, really.
Yeah. What else do we got? Here we go. Another baseball one. Cheese. MLB single entry, Paxton or Houck?
I would go Paxton there.
Okay. Back to some hoops. Taylor, we got about 5 minutes or so left here. FanDuel Cash, Clickety Claxed or Duran straight up?
Duran, no doubt.
All right. Taylor, any Halliburton on DK? Is Halliburton back to good yet? Because like he was amazing and then he got hurt and then he sucked. Has he ever recovered?
He's been a little better. It's just since they got Siakam, he's just not doing as much.
Okay.
I did have a bull take in the survey today that he was going to get 60 DK points tonight. So let's ride with it.
There were like 2 weeks when I played NBA in February, and I've heard of Halliburton, and apparently he was only playing like 10 minutes at a time for a while. But I'd heard of him, so I played him. I hope he wins for somebody.
It didn't go great for you then, I assume.
I guess not.
Yeah. You see, some like in baseball, Cheese, when people come back, they're just back. But in basketball, they incrementally work you back in. You gotta follow that. Let's see what else we got here. DK Cheese, Mania or Joe Boyle?
Mania. Joe Boyle. It's conceivable he could be a strikeout pitcher, but I cannot get behind Joe Boyle.
I was going to ask you about Joe Boyle because I'm getting a lot of him, and I think you said that he's the guy with like the 20% walk rate in the minors.
Like when I looked at it, because like he has a good reputation, like scouts like him, and so I just kind of glanced at it. I thought, I'm going to like Joe Boyle. Like it's unbelievable. Like, but I will say we've seen this with a couple other Oakland pitchers where they walked like a ridiculous ton of guys in the minors and haven't been that bad when they came up. So like, I don't think it's terribly wrong to play Boyle in MME. Personally, I just can't do it. I need to see him throw a strike first.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have here? If you had to pick one, Cheese, Springer or Judge? And okay, I think these are two separate questions. Springer or Judge, and then Gill or Francis?
I mean, Judge. Like I love Springer, but like Judge. And then what was the other one?
It was Gill v. Francis.
I prefer Francis, but they're right. They're both in that territory. Either one could easily give you a negative. And both have like theoretical strikeout upside.
Yeah. Okay. Taylor, thoughts on Troy Brown on DK?
I assume he's really cheap. Let's see what it is over here. 3.7. Yeah, I guess as a flyer, like he's going to be completely unowned, but strictly tournaments.
Okay. DK Cash is 8 in a good play over Duran. Taylor.
I think Duran's the play in cash. I do really like Ayton in tournaments tonight.
Okay. J3 says, can you tell Cheese I'm leaving $1,000 on the table in single entry tonight?
Love it. I love it. Like that's a thing that nobody ever does. There's really no reason. Like the difference between a $3,000 player and 4,000 is nothing. One of them is going to score 0 and one's going to score 40, and it could be either one. So
and you don't know which
do
one.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Who's Your Saying Banner says, anybody getting excited over this Eclipse thing next Monday? Is anyone else in the path here? No, Cheese, you are not in the path. Taylor, you are not in the path.
Mhm.
I, a year and a half ago, bought many hotel rooms to bring my whole family because I'm so freaking pumped for this over a year ago. And it's going to be cloudy and shitty weather. And
Is it really? I have a friend flying to Houston from Denver for the Eclipse. I will not tell him.
Yeah, and then they're going to drive. They're going to drive out west.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And it's still a week out, so maybe things change, but the weather does not look good. And that sucks because there's going to be 1 billion people and the traffic's going to be terrible. And I spent a bunch of money and I'm going to have screaming toddlers. And I'm not going to get to see an eclipse because of clouds. It's really, really not going great. What else do we got? Grant Williams revenge narrative, FanDuel single entry, Taylor.
Sure, if that's what it takes for you to talk yourself into Grant Williams, that is perfectly fine with me.
Okay. Cash question for you, Cheese, on FanDuel, Freeman or Soto?
Oh, jeez. I mean, yes, I would lean Soto tonight, but the answer is just yes. Either one is fantastic.
Okay, Cheese, back to you. Less than a minute here. My bad. McKenzie or Paxton? Because I'm worried the Dodgers are going to baby Paxton too much.
That was my initial thought, but he threw 80 in his last spring start, and so there's no reason that he won't get at least 80, which is as much as anyone can get. And really, McKenzie, I think, has just as much chance to only throw 80. So I slightly prefer Paxton, but again, they're essentially the same thing.
Okay. Do you like Suggs, Taylor? You like Suggs? Cheese, do you like Suggs?
Oh, yeah. Sug man. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Taylor,
Sug man. Yeah. Sure.
That's what they call him.
He goes by that. His friends call him Sug Man.
Yeah.
Worst superhero of all time.
Yeah. FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Altuve and Vladdy or Mookie and Ginger Turner?
I would go the Mookie side.
Bean says, Taylor, Al Horford or Duran in a FanDuel GPP?
Still Duran.
Okay. FanDuel GPP, Cheese. Do you mind guys like Soler and Chapman? Paxton does have power issues.
No, I love those Giants in particular. Yeah.
Okay.
Lineups.
Okay. What else we got? All right. We got hey, guess what? We hit the lock. We did the things that we're supposed to do. Hey, good job. Good work. I think we're going to bounce because at 6 o'clock, which is now my time, Caitlin Clark is about to just rain threes on LSU, and she's going to try to beat a whole team by herself, and it's going to be amazing. So there we go. Go LSU in the chat. I don't care who. The typical thing is like, I just want a good game, but really, I just want it to be a close game. It would be so fun. I'm going to bounce on out of here. So for Cheese, for Taylor, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been